that point, there were 1,600 contestants left, approximately, and so teams of approximately 400 people who would be playing on the game board at one time. And I was on the green team, and the green team was the third team to go. And so 2 teams would have gone before my team. And the way it was structured, and I expect by the time this video is out that people will have more common knowledge about what the briefcase game was. So I hope that you're able to look to that. But imagine the game board, you know, huge on the stadium floor. And there's 400 briefcases set out in a grid, each of them on a small table, kind of a pedestal type of table. And 50 of the approximate 400 of them had like red signs in them. Inside of them, when you open it up, it would say eliminated or something like that. And 350 thereabouts would be green and say safe. And so a whole grid of them, and so the red ones sprinkled throughout the grid. And contestants were to line up around the perimeter, this whole rectangular line.
Right, which we saw.
And then at the word go, would gun for it and try to get a green case. Well, how do you know if they're green or red? It wasn't just luck, because they put a grid up on the screen to show us a map of the different cases, and we could see which ones were red. And so, if you were good at mentally tracking, and you have a decent strategy, you had a pretty good chance of getting a green case. And so I looked at that. I had 2 rounds to think about.
Oh boy, this will be good.
About this, and to come up with a strategy. Because to be clear, in all of this, I know I'm not going to be the fastest ever, or, you know, I'm not going to ever win, you know, get first in any kind of athletic competition. But my mental game is on point, and you know, I'm slow.
We're aware you're not going to physically keep up with these people.
But not that slow. Like, I can do it. And so I was ready. I was ready to do it. And I was looking at the map, the map on the screen, and thinking through my odds. My PhD minor is in statistics, so I'm looking at it as like distribution of people around the grid. And there are certain places, like the corners, where you would have people coming in at different angles, and your sort of chances, or you'd have more competition in terms of, how to put this, your distributional advantage would be off on the corners. Let's just like, I can't even keep a train of thought here. The corners were not, you don't want to be on the corners.
Girl, it's not that deep.
But also there is more competition on the corners. So I'm like, okay, don't go into a corner. And if I went more into the middle, and did not plan at all to get any case in the first 2 rows, not even worry about it, really map out in my brain the cases that were like 3rd and 4th and 5th.
Right.
Because I knew all the fast guys are going to take the first cases. That's fine. Let them get it. And I'm going right towards like cases 3, 4, 5, that sort of thing. And in the process, one guy I had met in there gave me the idea that if I went right down, like not to go down like a side row, but to go down between 2 rows and have both hands ready. So you could get a case on this side with one hand and this side with the other hand. And so that is where my mind was. Like, I'm going down this row and looking at both sides.
I know what happened. She probably was not she just wasn't paying attention. I'm going to say it. She just wasn't paying attention. Full stop. Was not paying attention.
And thought, you know what? I've got this. I was ready. I really didn't have any doubts about my chances. I was sure I was getting a green case, and never imagined the risk that actually did come. So let me tell you that, first of all, in the game itself, one of the rules was that there was no kicking or tripping or any of that. And there should be audio of Jimmy Donaldson saying that. And he said, we do not allow that, and we will look at the cameras and we will find the evidence and you'll get eliminated. And so we just don't allow that. And so I never imagined that kicking was an issue. You know, so I didn't put it out there in my kind of list of calculations or strategies or any of that. And you might ask, because what did happen? I'll tell you what happened, and then we'll talk about some of my thinking leading up to it. So what happened was, I was on...
Just put the briefcase, the bag, little sis.
Let's say the northeast top area, and a couple of rows over from the center corridor, and prepared to run down.
It's really not.
Now see, I'm like, the way we were standing and oriented towards the screen, I was kind of backwards, purposely. Because I knew I could do it backwards. I knew a lot of people were going to do it on the other side so that it wouldn't be backwards in their brain, but I'm like, I got this.
It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Just put the text in the email mixes and just send it off. Like, put the fucking fries in the bag and let us go. Oh, God.
And I did, okay. And so I thought there was a little bit of an advantage up there in that spot with that whole distributional thing I was talking about, and the whole cognitive. Like, I knew I could handle that. And not everybody can, but I got it. Okay. And so, and I'm really fast guy. I'm like,
this is what I was getting at earlier when I said she'll start unmasking, and we'll see her be fucking schizo posting. Dude, this is the schizo posting I was talking about.
I'm right here behind you. I'm like, maybe I'll
she has husky energy, true. And like I said, sure, she does give husky fucking energy, dude. Hardcore.
I planned just like, I'm not even going to pay attention to the first and second ones because someone else already got them before me. That's fine. And so, Jimmy Donaldson, he's on this pedestal above all of it, all the mayhem, and, you know, announces go. And I run. I mean, just with gusto. And I'm just focused and I run when I feel it. Right from the side. I never saw him. I just...
I'm sorry. It's really fucking hard to take her seriously when you hear it.
And I run when I feel it. Right from the side. I never saw him. I just...
Yeah. Like someone scalding their kid in the fucking background. It's just like telling him how she got kicked in the head. Oh, I don't mean to laugh at it. It's just so funny that she watched this and was like, yeah, that stays in.
The collision. I don't remember it visually, but I remember being on the ground, and I remember feet. I remember knowing, like with everything I had, I could...
Dude, there's like kids like boxing in the background or something.
Trampled to death. I managed to get up. I'm like...
She's talking about how she thought she was going to get trampled to death, dude.
And camera's got to have this. Wouldn't it be interesting to see, like, how I get up? And, like, the stars going around your head kind of a thing. And I get out into the aisle, and I start going down, and I'm looking for a case. And I see a case, like, over there.
Dude, that's so wild. I can't, dude.
Looking for a case. And I see a case, like, over there. And I know it's a red case.
Yeah, is Mason around? We don't know.
Is this really the end? You know, because I did not expect it at all. And okay, this will be another segment. I'll talk about my exit a little bit more in another segment. But I want to double back on this important point, and that is that I never imagined that. I never thought about the issue of traffic was not one way. Okay, it's very obvious when you see it from above, which I did not see it from above. You need to understand that. When you hear the stories of the contestant wranglers, for instance, talking about how grisly it was, they were above. We were at ground level.
Dude, we're just hearing excuses. Bro, just put the fucking suitcase in the bag. Put the briefcase in the bag.
Footage and you see the contestants waiting for the next round. Imagine that if you're in that audience of contestants just observing, and you're way back, okay, and you're looking through the shoulders of people. I'm 5'2.2" as of a doctor's appointment just this last week, and if you're super short like me, and just looking through people's shoulders, and you can only see like little bits of.
Dude, she's like framing it like she's like a kid at a concert, like trying to see around the adults. Yeah, I said the same thing in her previous interview. Bobo says it felt the same way. It's just the
gameplay. You don't see what's going on. You don't see it.
was. I don't know about now after her, her traumatic brain injury. She can't really do a whole lot apparently. So would be a more appropriate framing of that.
Increasing my chances of getting that green case. It never, ever occurred to me that I could just simply be taken out by another contestant. It was against the rules. And
okay, and?
Stated, and so it just didn't occur to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, Mr. Beast told us all we're not There's no kicking or hitting. Oh, okay. So that like makes it physically impossible for anybody to do that. Yep.
Issue. I need you to understand that. And I will try to do another segment on what I might have done had I understood that, because I would have had a different strategy. But that is what but I didn't have that information. And
yeah. Or like the crazy thing is, okay, so I want to show you, Hertz, because we watched this earlier. I'm going to show you something, okay?
On over. In front of you is a sea of briefcases.
Keep in mind, this is literally the event that she's talking about.
Some say eliminated, some say saved.
On the Jumbotron, we are going to quickly show which briefcases are safe and which are eliminated. Your goal is to memorize where the safe briefcases are and claim one before someone else does. Think fast and run faster. Because of the 400 people on each team, 50 of you will end up with an eliminated briefcase. All right, reveal the map.
Now, keep in mind, these are all,
Okay, the second row.
she's 5'2".
7. That's row number 7.
I hope all of you have a briefcase in mind.
3, 2, 1, go! Oh, it's like a sea of people. Oh, okay.
Hopefully this is what I think it is. If it's not, then I'm gonna find someone to blame.
What's in that case?
I have no clue what's in there.
So your chance to win $5 million completely relies on this case either being safe or eliminated, and you have no clue.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Now that everyone has a
So, like, I'm sorry. Now that I actually sit and watch that, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that she got kicked. I believe that I believe that she tripped or stumbled. She got kicked in the head. Yeah, that's for real. She could have easily tripped and got and like fucking hit her head on something. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all.
I didn't have that information. And
Don't forget, PhD. Remember, her minor for her PhD was stats.
I need to make it very clear that, I mean, I can prove that. I can prove
Yeah,
that.
she was also the game theorist. Like, there's like none of this makes any sense. Right.
But because I was wearing a mic, and that mic was hot through all of the briefcase game, and contrary to
Yeah, and it isn't poli-sci, so like
anybody who might claim that maybe the mic was
I'll let you interpret that how you want. A 60-something-year-old poli-sci PhD person that's an internet influencer, quote unquote, because she lost 100 pounds.
was broken.
More than
They
100
didn't have the
pounds.
audio of Amanda Rose in the briefcase game. In fact, the audio tech crew was waiting as I exited and waiting to
Yeah.
remove the mic from me. Okay, so they knew because I was on,
Yeah, main character syndrome. Exactly why.
So they could hear
That
that I
is.
was eliminated, and they were there to collect the microphone. And so there is audio of me in the briefcase game. It's there. And in the couple of hours leading up to my round of the briefcase game, there was a roving camera that would go through and interview people, and I was interviewed with some
You're right, though,
men
Bobo.
about the game. And in it, you can probably see my thought process. And if memory serves, it'll be interesting to see it. But my discussion with them was more about, am I competing with them for those cases in that area? So I was determining where they were planning on standing. And
The problem is she doesn't have any of it. It's all on. It all falls back onto Mr. Beast and his team to provide the only piece of evidence. She shows screenshots, but like does not prove anything. I'm going to tell you that right now because we can't look at all of them because she fucking doxes her son. Her 15-year-old son, by the way. In the process of the whole fucking thing. Shows his name and his face.
Deciding if I was going to be in that area or somewhere else. Not because I thought they might trample me or any of that, but because could I beat them to the cases? You know, this distributional thing I'm talking about. It never occurred to me about what would happen. And I do know it seems very naive because the men in the game that I've spoken to a few of the contestants since then, and they were fairly horrified that I didn't know because they did know. So now, how would they know when I didn't know? And the fact is, simply, they're taller, okay? Taller, and might have been more in the front. And it appears that the men were somewhat openly discussing this amongst themselves.
Okay. So she's...
And this problem. Because they do seem, it does seem like it was fairly common knowledge among them.
Okay, yeah, you just talk to people. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. Was no one allowed to talk to each other during that process? I'm confused. You're just like mad because the men were apparently talking to each other?
That there was this risk. In fact, as I exited from the game that night and was shuttled back to the hotel, I was in a shuttle. A man got on my shuttle who was eliminated. He was maybe in his 60s, maybe, and large stature, over 6 feet tall and very muscular. And I said, how on earth did you get eliminated? I mean, what happened? And
yeah, right? That's crazy. Crazy concept. How could they do that? Like, how could they do that and cheat?
That,
like that.
His area, he was around a lot
Those
of
monsters.
Women, 120 pounds, 5'2" or whatever. Oh. And he said that he could have gotten a case, but he knows he would have caused physical harm to those women. And so he chose not to engage in that way, and he ended up eliminated.
That's the choice he made, and that's the consequences of your choices. Tell me.
I will attempt to include.
Yeah, that's I was like, okay, and
photo of him, and because I took a photo of him later. The next day, I saw him just waiting in line in the hotel lobby area, or where.
Yeah, and he got eliminated, and apparently did not complain.
They were working with us with these games, and he was just like over there, and I'm like, oh, there's that guy. I wonder if I should just take a photo. Well, I did. I snapped a photo, and I'll include a photo of
Wait,
him in this.
Did she just admit to taking like a cream shot of somebody? Did she? I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait, did she just sprinkle that in?
Where they were working with us with these games, and he was just like over there, and I'm like, oh, there's that guy. I wonder if I should just take a photo. Well, I did. I snapped a photo, and I'll include a photo of him.
Oh, that's weird. That just feels weird. Oh, I don't know why. It just feels really weird.
He recognized the risk, and he recognized like his the risk, the damage he could do to other people.
Not even that. Why does that feel weird?
People, and he chose to eliminate.
Don't forget, he's a virtuous. He's a good person though, because he chose to lose so that he wouldn't physically hurt these women. What? That's
instead of cause harm to other people.
That's such a wild thing. No, you can not get eliminated and not harm people. Like plenty of people did that. What? He just lost. So it's fine.
Really not all of the people in Beast Games made a similar choice, and I wonder how many of them.
This fucking lady.
I did not. But who did? Again, I think I've already said this, but let me make it clear. I did not know the risk, but Jimmy Donaldson knew the risk. He stood on a pedestal high above the games, high above the pandemonium. He watched injury after injury. How do I know there were injuries? in games in like Game Board 1 and Game Board 2. Well, because apparently there's been a big old expose in the New York Times. And
Do you want to like maybe show that expose or like provide any article title or person who wrote it, like a submission date or like a publishing date? I don't even need a link, homie. We have to keep in mind this is someone that quote unquote can't make long form content for YouTube anymore, to where she thinks she might be homeless. She literally said that. She's like, I'm surprised I'm not homeless. She said in the other previous interview.
also, and I only put this together.
Hold on. Actually, I'll just pull it up real quick. I'll just pull it up real quick. Why sit here and like make these claims that of like she said this? I'll just show you. I'll just show you. Bobo saw it and other people saw it, but it was before you got in here in chat.
And no one.
It was towards the end.
Like bring the trolls,
silly.
and so yeah, it's always been great, but has been very difficult for me to like juggle the cognitive balls, and so talking with the therapists about it, what they say is you need to do more, not less, and so that is going to be one of my big
Do
things.
they think that that's going to help with recovery?
Yes.
Is challenging yourself?
Hold on. Control F.
Expenses, but also my inability to work. And at first, let me just say, I'm so grateful that, that I'm not homeless or something, that we've been able to just kind of get by in this circumstance. But
Okay, back to what we were doing.
Afterwards, as I was exiting, and I was
Just-
talking to people all along the way about,
Just want to remind people like what the framing that she's done. Now, keep in mind that she recorded this like 5 months ago. They are at the end of the video. There are screenshots and pictures, by the way. We will go through some of them. I'm not going to go through the ones. I'm not going to show the ones of her that involve her son and his face and his name.
it
But
was not
there are
long,
some. I will
I
say
wanted to talk to a producer.
there is like evidence. So I know he is asking for the
Let
link.
you speak to your manager kind of thing. But I'm like, I need to talk to a producer. Need to talk to a producer. And I was asking all along the way. And then when I got to a woman who was handling our paperwork, it was like tax forms. And she said to me, you need to speak to the Mr. Beast legal team because there have already been a lot of complaints about this. And I think about that now, like, really? And so as I mention this and I talk about my exit from this and talk about being, knocked down, kicked in the head, and leaving in the circumstances
I get knocked down. Then I picked the wrong case. I'm never gonna win these games. I get knocked down.
where
Sorry, I had to. My ADHD brain.
what had just happened to me, including Carl Jacobs, who I actually, this might even be on camera, me speaking to Carl and saying, hey, look what happened. And that's a whole other story. I will try to get this as its own segment, but they knew. And can you guess how many people referred me to the nurses
Listen,
or
I'm
like to
not
the medical crew? They had ambulance.
coping the night away. Seething the night away.
Waiting.
I got a concussion. I
How
can't
many of
anymore.
those people referred me to a medical person? Yeah, zero.
Concussing the night
I
away.
didn't imagine at the time. I was like filled with adrenaline. I was in my gameplay. Didn't imagine that I'd even been injured, and didn't think to ask for help.
Wait.
I'm also not a person who referred me to a medical.
I think I missed important information.
Circumstances where many people knew what had just happened to me, including Carl Jacobs, who I actually might even be on camera, me speaking to Carl and saying, hey, look what happened. And that's a whole other story. I will try to get this as its own segment, but they knew. And can you guess how many people referred me to the nurses station or like to the medical crew? They had ambulances waiting. How many of those people referred me to a medical person? Yeah, zero. And so, zero. And so I didn't imagine at the time. I was like filled with.
I'm sorry, just the second that you were like, you were on the ground, were they supposed to like all like the whole crew supposed to run to you, EMTs and all or something?
Adrenaline, you know, I was in my gameplay. Didn't imagine that I'd even been injured, and didn't think to ask for help because I'm also not a person who asks for help.
That's your problem. This is literally your entire problem. You literally got hurt on a job for somebody, and you're like, oh no, I'm not gonna ask. Like, you claim that you got kicked in the head. Like, well, something to keep in mind is she claims early on that she didn't realize that she had a concussion until she got home, driving home from Las Vegas. I know. The problem is, though, is she had an opportunity to see medical assistance, and now she is sitting here claiming that all of this responsibility that Mr. Beast knew that she got hurt, did not provide her medical assistance, knowing she got hurt, and that because she didn't ask for medical assistance and he didn't provide any, actively chose not to provide any, that she can't she's going to be homeless. That's what she's trying to say.
I'm not a person who just kind of runs to the doctor or the ER.
And it's like, girly, you're in your 60s. You're past 50 years old. That's also on you. You are an individual adult human being. You have your own agency and autonomy. You need to also you need to seek medical attention if you're fallen and you think that you got kicked in the head. Like that, at the end of the day, if you think you got kicked in the head before you leave Las Vegas and the entire thing that hurt you, eliminated or not, you should go see medical fucking attention.
Because of a fall or whatever.
It's like me going to a concert, getting thrown into a mosh pit, and getting hit in the head, right? And then trying to blame the venue 3 weeks after because I have a concussion. Sorry, it doesn't work like that when it's been long past the fact.
And what might have happened and how this story might be different had I actually gotten care at that time, it's hard to say. I expect things would be...
Like, I understand that you, especially with things like head injuries, it's not always like an immediate detectable thing, but like you also can't just like avoid taking any personal responsibility for choices that you made leading up to and afterwards on this that led to these medical consequences.
Significantly easier. But in fact, they were not set up for that. They were not set up to care for the humans who were being injured at their feet. At the feet of Jimmy Donaldson.
That's the implication that she's trying to make. That's the difference between the situations. She's trying to imply that they didn't even bother. They were not prepared. Like she's trying to piggyback off of like what everybody's tried to claim so far.
It's distracting. There's some stuff across the street. Okay, let's just put it like this. Jimmy Donaldson stood above the contestants, watching wave after wave of injury, leading them out, leading those injured people.
They just hearing the bones cracking, man. Like, dude, that's what she's framing it up as. He sat up on the stands above everybody, and you could hear the bones cracking, people's necks breaking, and he just stood there and laughed. The mastermind, the sadist, Mr. Beast. He did this all so he could watch people just get injured and watch people break their bones. Yeah, he did this all so he could just do it for gladiator fights. Yeah, that's what
getting eliminated.
That's literally what it feels like. Is she's trying to frame it as is like that he orchestrated this and like actively knew that he didn't have like it's like no, I don't know if it was like that.
And
Like, yeah, you may have gotten hurt there, and it was unexpected. But it was unexpected. Damn, their Monopoly game's getting heated. I can hear it.
Providing any medical care.
That's like forewarning for any yelling from downstairs. And then I can hear them down here.
As we look back on...
Oh, man.
I run out of steam. I want to make sure I finish my main point.
So I just hate that laugh. I just
Jimmy knew the
never
risk.
going to talk about it.
Jimmy
Good chat?
Donaldson knew the risk.
Good.
So did Carl Jacobs. Okay, I have a photo with Carl. Carl has been one of our favorites. Okay, but who else? You know, the others were there. Nolan knew. Tariq knew. They knew. There was an on-site PhD psychologist. Was he in the stands? Did he see? If he did, he knew. How many people knew? Who knew the risk? I didn't know the risk. And again, cameras, and especially the microphone, is my evidence. Go through it. Listen to it. Listen to my words. Think about my mentality and what I've told you here, that I didn't even imagine that I'd get knocked down and kicked in the head. I didn't imagine it. So if I didn't even imagine it, how could I have known the risk? How could I have known the risk? Jimmy knew the risk, and he didn't tell me the risk. He put me at risk and did not tell me. He put me willingly at risk. Jimmy Donaldson did. Jimmy Donaldson put me willingly at risk, and I did not know the risk. Both of those points are provable with the cameras and with the microphones. They are there. This is not he said, she said. The documentation is there. It's there.
Notice, this is very particular, that she doesn't have the evidence. It's the ball's in Jimmy's court. And that, like, when the evidence isn't there, she's going to claim that they purposely didn't include the evidence, that they withheld it, or they deleted it. Yep. Demand you give, yeah, at this point. Dude, I'm so on board with you tonight, Kabembo.
How could it not be intentional? Wave after wave.
I just laugh at the, like, usually I'm the one that's like, giving that kind of energy, so I love seeing it in my chat.
If this were the first instance,
Pretty fucking dumb.
And the last, how could I prove intent? I feel like intent is easy to prove and obvious, given, especially in my
She had to.
in the third round.
Given that she's given